Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, new business. There being no new business, we'll go to unfinished business, discuss pickleball. You called it.
First of all, thanks everybody for coming. This has been a long summer dealing with this problem, and I hope that we can resolve it so that everybody's happy. At the last rec board meeting on October 9th, the rec board determined that pickleball was successful and they want to continue it for 2 more years. Unfortunately, we have some residents that are complaining about the noise that's generated from the games. And I don't think we can just let their complaints go unheard. I had suggested moving pickleball from where it is down to Sunset Park and then to Washington Park the following year, the 2013 at Sunset, 2014 at Washington Park. For some reason, the rec board is not in favor of that, and I'm not sure why, but neighbors complained about baseball being played at that 28th Street Park, and it got changed. Right, I went up there today, there's a sign up there that says no hardball at this field, and another one it says no golfing. I don't see how that complaint can be different than a complaint of noise when this is pretty much right in their backyard. I checked with the company that refurbished or repainted the courts this summer, and the price to paint, since it's already been resurfaced, just to paint the pickleball court back to a tennis court is $3,250. I asked, since the tennis courts are already at Sunset Park and Washington Park have already been resurfaced, how much it would cost just to add pickleball lines to one court at Washington Park and the tennis court at Sunset Park. And it's $450 per court, so each park would be $450. At the rec board meeting, it was suggested that the noise deafening equipment would cost $8,000, and there was no guarantee that it would actually work. So I think to spend $3,250 to paint that court back to a tennis court and then add pickleball lines at Sunset Park and Washington Park is less expensive, obviously. It saves like almost $4,000 if we do it that way. I don't understand why they don't want to move it to Sunset Park. Not only does it give the neighbors a break, but it gives a whole new area of town the ability to see the game. You know, it's never been about the game. I'm glad everybody likes to play it. And we have it down at Sunset Park for 1 year, 1 summer, just like these people did. And then it would be moved to Washington Park. And with the tennis tournament that IUCH holds and the tennis program in the summer, the summer help kids would have to remove the pickleball nets for those programs, and it doesn't appear that they are very difficult to move. And I think and then the people around Summit Street would be able to see the game too. You wanted a 3-year program just to see if it was popular enough. That would be your 3 years, and then you could make a determination then if you wanted to continue it and build a dedicated park up at Veterans Park. So I personally don't think 28th Street Park should have been painted a pickleball court to begin with. It should have been painted a tennis court with pickleball lines because you didn't know if it was going to be popular. And in 3 years, if it wasn't, you would have had to paint back to a tennis court, and that you already spent the $3,200 this year. If you would have just left it as a tennis court, you would have just had extra pickleball lines, and that isn't a problem. When I contacted the company that redid the painting, I asked if they could put tennis court lines over a pickleball court, so that we, instead of repainting it, we could just add harder to do that, it makes the lines a little more confusing for the players. He said it's easier if you have a tennis court to add pickleball lines. So what I want to see happen, is to move it to Sunset Park next year. I don't see why anybody should have a problem with that. You can go down there and play just as easily as you go to 28th Street Park, and that'll give these neighbors a break. Yes. Wait. Now, this is, did you want to say anything? Or are you ready to open it up for public comment?
Anything else?
No, I'm done.
Okay. No, I haven't noticed it this time. I'll open it for public comment.
There's only one problem. At Sunset, we can only fit 2 courts on the tennis court at Sunset. That was one of the reasons that we built it up there, was because you could fit 4 courts on without doing any more blacktop or anything like that. We went and measured a lot on Saturday, and we could add 4 courts at Washington by adding a little more blacktop to one side, and we're all for anything, but 2 courts is not enough. It's just, we have more people interested in playing, and with only 2 courts, you get 8 people to play at one time only. And we have always 12 to 16 people every time we play, so 2 courts is.
So the tennis court at Sunset Park is not the same size as?
Right, the sidelines going off of the side of the courts, there isn't as much room as there is at 28th Street Park. Like I said, we're willing to go any place, we don't care, but we need more than just 2 courts.
Okay. Well, ideally, I guess Washington Park would be the place, because I also
Exactly.
measured, and Sunset Park, the nearest property line is 37 feet from the court. 28th Street Park is 20 feet, and Washington Park is 97 feet, and that's just to the property line. So.
It's the size of the court is that we're.
Could you fudge the dimensions?
We can't make it smaller than a regulation court.
Well, sure you could.
Well, yeah, you might as well go play out in the street then.
Well,
I mean, that's like saying take the tennis courts and make 10 tennis courts instead of 4,
Well,
and you'd have room for everybody too. I mean, it's the.
Mr. Grabowski.
I was just a little confused on, you started talking about Washington, and then you went down to Sunset. How does Washington play into it?
Well, I had hoped that it could go to Sunset Park for the summer of 2013, and then to Washington Park for the summer of 2014. But IBCH has a tennis tournament, so they need all 4 courts. So it would have to be, for that amount, for those days at that tennis tournament, it was, I think it's 3 or 4 days, the pickleball court, the pickleball nets would have to be taken down during the day. But I don't think they play at night, so they can be put up at night.
So you were gonna paint how many courts on one court at Washington, or you're gonna put 1 pickleball court on each tennis court?
No, just like 28th Street,
Okay,
because it was 1 tennis court. I
right.
didn't realize tennis courts were different sizes. I thought they were all standard. And then just take it from 20, exactly like it was at 28th Street, because it was 1 tennis court, right?
Correct,
And put it down on one of the courts. There's 4 courts at Washington.
right.
On one of the courts at Washington Park.
I think it's the sidebars that are referred to. The courts are the same.
Right.
Lady in the back?
Yeah, I was wondering, as far as the arrangement with LP High School and St. Bede High School, because they also use Washington during their tennis season. So then they would need to be removing those nets as well, if it was at Washington.
It very well, that could add to it. The high schools as well as the tournaments that the tennis program has. The movement, the 20 feet and 37 feet, I know it's a difference. Not a major difference, but it's a difference. And I don't know. To be moving it around, I was kind of satisfied with the way the rec department did it and came up with their idea. Yes, sir.
When you said noise abatement stuff, Are you talking about the things that fit down between the fence?
I don't actually know.
Because I was wanting to see that a lot of times, those things that fit down between the fence, those kind of pieces of plastic to that. Cut that one, it seems like it would be inexpensive.
You'd have to ask the rec board.
I think Ray Zabrowski checked into that, and it was almost like an asphalt type of material, like a mat that you would hang on the fence.
John said it wasn't breathable.
It wasn't breathable, it's heavy, so then you would worry about the structure of the fence too then if it was
You'd have to
strong
remove
wind.
your team.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going back to the part about Sunset Washington. The difference between the homes is 37 feet at Sunset and only 20 at 28. Do you feel you're going to get the same concerns from the residents at Sunset?
Yes, I do.
So why are you wanting to move it to Sunset?
Because I think it would be very interesting to see if other people complain about it, for one thing. It gives other people the ability to see the game. And I just think we can't do this for 2 more years to these people.
Okay, but then you said that Washington was a viable option.
Right.
So my question is, why would we go to Sunset, get the same concerns from the residents, because they're only 17 more feet away, and then pay to transfer that court at $32.50 back to tennis, take it to Washington, pay $32.50 to go to pickleball, when you seem to be in agreement that you're going to get the same concerns from residents at Sunset?
The $32.50 would be paid once for 28th Street Park.
And $32.50 at
No.
Sunset?
No.
How do
We
you
would
pay?
just have pickleball lines and for $450.
You have to pick them up.
Okay, so that's definitely cheaper, but if you're gonna get the same complaints from the residents, now we're back at Washington, where in a minute ago you said Washington was a viable option, so why are we skipping down to Sunset to make people mad and then bringing it back up to Washington?
That's fine with me.
Why don't we just leave it where it's at for another year at least? We've gotten 1 year in, approach the finance committee about moving forward with,
No, we can't do that. We have complaints here. We can't just say, I'm sorry, too
so if
bad.
somebody comes from Sunset, then we can't do that either.
Why is it okay for these people to have to put up with it for 2 years? And someone at Sunset Park is not, we're gonna protect them down there.
I'm not trying to protect them, but you know what, the pickleball court was put in an appropriate place that the rec department felt was beneficial to the most citizens, okay? That's why they put it there, okay, to get the most use. The complaints came from 2 concerned citizens, and they brought some friends with them, a few others. And so with that, we're not gonna do away with the complaints, we're just gonna move the complaints. It's okay to move the complaints, but not in our backyard. That's not a good thing. Bob, did you have a
Yeah,
question?
there's something that, Sunset's not a viable option, right?
Not really.
You're gonna be down 50% on your courts. Now, I don't even play pickleball,
Right.
but I don't have a problem with anybody enjoying anything. But Sunset, you're gonna have to remove 50% of the courts available. If you move it to Washington, it's gonna be a problem for LP, St. B, whoever,
And the tournaments, yeah.
in the tournament. You're gonna spend an extra $3,200 because some people are complaining a couple hours a week of being bothered. They probably got the air conditioner on. If their house is well insulated, they probably don't even hear it.
Well, again, I'm back to the point of it should not have been painted a pickleball court.
That should have been addressed before it was even done.
Absolutely.
Now you're talking about a lot of money to change it. And, you know, I agree with Bob.
But unfortunately.
Wait another year, see how it goes. It may fizzle out next year, and this
I don't
could
think it
all
will.
be for naught.
then we should move forward with getting a new court in a different location. But certainly, and to go back to the hardball is not allowed in 28th Street Park. It never was. It was supposed to be softball. There were children playing hardball from the second base line, trying to hit an individual house intentionally, I'm told. This was before my time. And the man collected all the balls. Yeah. And they finally stopped hardball allowed in that park. That's the reason for that, not because
So noise complaint is different than,
someone intentionally trying to damage your property. Yeah, that is a difference.
I
Yeah.
disagree with you.
Oh,
It's a big
okay.
difference.
You're entitled to bottom line.
Since it's been assumed that ultimately pickleball is going to end up at Veterans Park.
That's
with
a
the
possibility.
establishment of a new court, okay? We have plenty of parking lot space in this community. We got Kmart, we got, Eagles. Why not put up temporary nets? Why not put up a snow fence barrier? Paint white lines on the blacktop? And you've removed them from all the residential areas. If you went and could institute, you'd have to institute an agreement, a rental agreement.
That's true. Or we just put it on our city property and utilize the parks for what they're designed for, the children playing in the parks. Mr. Ferrari.
Why can't we just go to Washington and add that small piece of blacktop, put 4 courts in there and be done with it? You're away from everybody.
That's something to look at.
It's,
Okay?
it's,
That's something
it's
to look at.
probably the least feasible. I mean, it's the best feasible option that we have. You're away from everybody. We can go down there and be away from everybody and we won't bother anybody. But we
And you
would,
have lights.
right.
And you have
We
lights.
would just like to have the 4 courts though, because it is,
Absolutely.
with the amount of people that we have playing, we definitely would
And you
need
would
the
have
4
lights,
courts.
you could even play
Right,
later,
we
and
would,
have
we
this
would love to
next
go
level.
to Washington. It will
Yeah.
not be a problem at all for
Wonderful
us.
idea.
It's just that we gotta spend a little money, get it done, and let's just end this. This is getting to be
The other
crazy.
thing is Veterans Park is not a real viable option with the wind.
The wind up there is terrible. You'd hardly be able to play up there.
It would be a much more viable option on the west side,
Right.
but, that's.
I mean,
another
but then you're going into
consideration.
$40,000 probably compared to $10,000 to build,
Right.
4 new courts completely with a
Jim.
fence.
It's sort of a very quick summary, but if we could get Sunset Park off the option table, because of the neighbors being as close or almost as close as these neighbors are, this is one of the reasons that people are not going to really like putting the stripes down at Sunset. This is only 2 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court. Try to visualize if I could draw 4 on there. And so, number one, it's not a really good option for drawing courts on a tennis court. And 2, I'm thinking most people agree that we're just asking for the neighbors to be upset down there. So if somehow we could somewhat agree that Sunset could be taken off the table, and Danny's point is very well taken. We were down there on Saturday, and if you take blacktop from the existing court on the west over to the fence, or maybe a little bit further toward the drinking fountain, there's more than enough room to put 4 pickleball courts there and leave the 4 tennis courts pristine.
Or
It
if you
is
wanted
more
to get
money
rid of
than
1
Sherry
tennis
is
court,
thinking
you'd
of.
still have 3 tennis courts, and we could get by with putting 10 foot of blacktop and resurfacing that, and
It is more money than,
Say that again? It's at Washington?
at
Park?
Washington Park, there's this, let's say this is the first tennis court on the west side. The way they laid it out, they left this huge piece of blacktop there that we sit there and watch people play tennis. And then from that blacktop to the edge of the fence, there's
15 or
15,
18,
16 feet. So just with that 16 feet, along with this extra blacktop, it's almost enough to put 4 courts on. So if you spent a little extra money and actually pushed the fence out, you're going over near the drinking fountain, but this is all
You could
area
save
that could be used
all four
for
tennis
a
courts that way
brand
too.
new facility, and then the 4 courts remain pristine for whoever wants to use
I
them.
think it's a great idea if we get that to work.
Well, if it can work, it's something that,
It is more money than what Sherry's speaking of, but
right.
if we
Well,
took,
that would be a long-term solution, because if you don't wanna go to Veterans Park because of the wind, that seems like it would be a good option. Now, with
Well, that or,
the drinking fountain, that
That's
can be
scary,
just
you've gotta
moved,
look at
right?
Yeah, that's the easy solution.
What kind of a long-term option would that be? It doesn't seem like there'd be much involved in there.
take a look at
No, I
it.
mean, that would be a long-term solution,
Oh, we'll take a look at that.
But it seems like that's something we could do probably by next
right?
spring, right?
Right?
Possibility, yeah. I think Sunset's off the table, as was mentioned, in terms of the moving the problem from one spot to another. We're not solving anything, we're just moving it, okay? And that's not a solution, to just move it. But the possibility of Washington Park, that's a possible solution. I think that's something that the superintendent should look at. And we can move on it rather quickly and see what we can do with it. The season's coming to an end. But if not, if it can't be done, then we're in a quandary for what we're gonna do for the spring. So we'll just have to wait on it. But I'm satisfied with leaving it for one more year to see. And the other reason for Sunset Park not being, it's not a venue. It's not a venue for that type of sport in that area. Certain sports.
Neither is 28th Street.
Certain sports are played in different neighborhoods, okay? And 28th Street Park is a venue for that. Soccer is a venue for that, over at Baker Lake.
28th Street Park is a small neighborhood park, just like Sunset Park is.
Yes, yeah.
But you could fit 4 courts on one. That's the reason, the only reason they went up there is because without any extra money, you could build 4 courts.
Right.
With
And it
the
slid right in.
blacktop that is already existing there, that sticks out past the sides of the tennis court. That's what you've gotta think about. You can't think of just the size of the tennis court. You have to think about the blacktop that's on the sides and on the ends to make it work. So a tennis court, you can't fit 4 pickleball courts on one tennis court. It's the surface outside that you have to be concerned about.
Well, we'll look into the Washington Park expansion
Right.
to the west, and see what that'll bring.
Gary, if
We can
some
do it.
night you wanna go down, we can
Gary, you can volunteer.
go down, you know, after, it's gonna have to be up
What
to,
I'll do, I'll get my water super, water guy, so we'll just see which way that line runs. You know, if it's coming over, then it's nothing, just move it.
oh, for the drinking fountain, you mean?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's just the
you know.
3/4 line running over for that one drinking fountain there.
So if they can move that, and if
Yeah.
there's room to
That
the
would be
fence
no
line,
problem moving that. It'd just be the,
and that
taking the
room will
sod
allow
out,
for
putting
the
6
4
inches of
pickleball
gravel
courts.
in and 3 inches of blacktop.
Sure.
And getting it resurfaced.
I just thought of this, listening to Danny. At the end of the day, if you do this with extending the Washington Park court,
Yeah.
and it fails, you restripe it, now you have 5 tennis courts at Washington. You've really reduced the bad part of doing it in the beginning. So if pickleball fails, you put two tennis posts in, and now you have a 5-court complex at Washington. So
But you
that
know
was
what?
another.
That's all right.
I don't think pickleball will fail. I think it'll just gain in
No,
popularity.
it's
and
gaining
I
more
do
people
too.
will
I
play.
think it's gonna pick up.
And that's what we want, you know, we want the people to be active in the community. That's a wonderful thing. And we did not do it. It was never done intentionally to irritate anybody in any way, shape, or form. And in actuality, for those people that have seen it or done it, there's only been a couple of naysayers, and the rest of the people have no qualms with it at all. And there's no, I haven't seen any injuries, there's been no ambulance calls up there. The people are playing a fair and honest sport. And it's a sport for all ages. So, but we'll try the Washington Park venue and see what that can bring about. How does that sound?
Sounds good, Bob.
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
We wanna be good neighbors too.
Yeah.
Well, everybody wants to be a good neighbor. We're not trying to do it to irritate the neighbors. We're just trying to do it because it's the right thing to do. There's a lot of people that can enjoy the sport. And that is a municipal park. I know it's a neighborhood park, but all parks are in neighborhoods. They're all neighborhood parks, run by the municipality. We don't do it to run people out of town, run to the Anything else on pickleball? Any other questions? Okay.
We have one. Bob, I just want to let you know that, we're going to take your word that you are going to make a good faith effort to move this.
That's all you have.
Okay, that's all we want.
Best you can do.
Is your good faith effort that this isn't just a lot of talk, and then next summer, it'll be right back.
Are there any witnesses here tonight? I mean, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have the superintendent look at it and see what we can do.
So do you plan on having it removed by next summer?
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't have an answer to that
Yes,
question.
we do.
Only if we have another place to play.
Thank you, Sharon.
It's a possibility.
You know, Jim, when I watched the video that you first came out with, pickleball could be played pretty much anywhere instead of the tents, or the nets, pretty much any location. Are there any other locations that we could temporarily do? I mean, it's.
I'm really glad you said that because I think this is the first time I'll be a little bit speaking as a resident. I find it an insult when aldermen and residents ask me to go play in a parking lot.
No, I mean, you're the one, your video was the one that had showed
When
that.
we've spent a long time, a lot of people involved in this, and then to turn around and listen to people say, go play in the parking lot.
Jim, you have to understand, that was your video. I'm just questioning, you're the one that was promoting that. You had kids playing, they were setting it up in front of West Clax, they did it in front of City Hall. So that's why I'm coming up with that, is that your video is the one that showed that, so that's what I was questioning. I'm not saying you have to do it, I'm just saying is, is that something that could be looked into? Could we look at another venue somewhere else as a temporary for next summer if we have to? Another parking lot that we could make permanent for a year. Is that possible? That's all I'm saying.
Okay, anything else? All right, the other item on the unfinished business agenda was to discuss a landfill property.